If I'm being totally honest, I had no idea what I was going to do for a video this month, and then the Dawntrail benchmark came out, so I figured I'd just do that. I was originally going to do it at the start of my stream, but I figured I'd actually want to run it a few times and like mess with the settings every time, so I was going to test it properly, I had to record it anyway, so it just made sense to do it for this. I ran it once without recording, and then 4 more times with a recording, and then once more without a recording, and just changed settings each time. I kept the settings for the actual benchmark itself the same, because I've got a good enough setup that I was going to run it at 4K max settings anyway, probably, and as you can see, I'm fine to do that. But what I was going to have to check was my stream settings. So the first one you're seeing is at 4K with all the settings as high as they go, and then using the FSR upscaler, mostly because I couldn't find a way of turning upscaling off. I ran it a few times with FSR and then a few times with DLSS, and spoilers, for some reason just DLSS runs worse altogether. I do think that might be because DLSS only was running when I dropped below 60 FPS with like native rendering, and I think because I wasn't dropping to that, it was barely ever running, whereas FSR was running all the time. So I think I was getting a better score with FSR running all the time, but if I had the choice I'd just turn the upscaling off anyway, so I don't really care about that. This first recording is all the settings as high as they go, with my normal recording settings but no stream going at the same time. After that, I did a couple more tests, and I was originally going to include the footage for all of them, but of the 4 recordings I've got, 3 of them look almost identical, so I didn't really see the point. There was score decreases for the later ones, but they were for all predictable reasons. Running the game without recording is best, then with a recording takes a bit of an impact, and then with a stream and recording takes a bit more of an impact. It was expected, it wasn't that big of a difference every time, so I just didn't really see the point in including all the video. I did include one more after this, because one version looked way worse. This is just a recording, like I said, using the NVENC encoder for recording, which is how I always do my recording. I then did one with the NVENC for recording and the X264 CPU encoding for my stream, which is how I run my streams normally right now, and that is just going to be how it continues, because it turns out that was the best way. But then I did one with the NVENC encoder for streaming and recording, and in terms of the actual footage I see while playing, actually doing the benchmark, it looks fine, but as you'll see when it comes up, which is going to be the next clip that shows, that recording is awful. It's unwatchable. It just drops frames constantly. I suppose it's nice that it doesn't affect me that much, but it completely ruins the recording, so obviously I don't want that. And then I ran it a few times with DLSS, and I mentioned before about how that is technically worse, but I think is probably closer to what I'd actually do in real life when I actually do it. I'll just turn all the upscaling off completely. I knew I was going to do this for like testing purposes, like just go through it a few different times at different settings and see what I could get, but it turns out that it was incredibly predictable what was going to happen, so was it worth it? Maybe not. So this is the recording where I use the NVENC encoder to do streaming and recording at the same time, and like right off the bat you'll see that the frame rate just dies. It doesn't even have to be anything like strenuous. There's no like explosions on screen, it's just a panning shot and the frame rate just collapses. Clearly I can't use this, but the reason I included this footage is because it is the only footage where anything looked any different. This was the settings I used to use a lot, up until I was playing the game at 4K. This was fine, and then when I started playing the game at 4K, it became a problem. And then for a while I just didn't understand why, so I used to mess with my game settings and turn those down to try and get better performance and just couldn't, because it just seems to be too much for my GPU to handle doing the encoding and playing the game at the same time. So 4K, I think it's actually because when I'm streaming, so I'm doing a recording at 4K, but I'm also putting out the stream at 1080, it's like downscaling the game footage at the same time for the stream as it's recording and also playing the game, and I think it's just too much for the GPU to handle all of that in one go. So I switched recently to using my CPU to do the encoding for the actual stream, because I also it sounds bad, but I don't care about that as much, because I want the recording to look as good as it can, and I want it to look good for me so I can see what I'm doing. Having done that, it works a lot better now, and I was already pretty sure that that was what I was going to do, but it definitely is what I'm going to do. I was thinking about possibly buying a new GPU just to make totally sure, but after having done this I probably won't. Or I might do, but I'll wait until the next gen GPUs are out and just skip this gen entirely, because it's already really late in and I'm not really going to get that much of a benefit from it at that point. I've got now just a little section where you can see all of the things compared to one another. I've got like a little thing that says what's each one, and it's just all of the scores compared to one another. The ones on either end, one is no recording with FSR and one is no recording with DLSS. I'm going to go with FSR or DLSS, don't seem to make much of a difference, and X264 for my stream, and then Link for my recordings, which was honestly what I was planning on before I even started this. So, and then I also did one more recording where things didn't go as I expected, and I'll just leave you with that. So, thanks for watching. Special thanks to my patrons, Justin Wood, Hobbs, and Koopy Vegeta. You can join my patrons at patreon.com/Holden Gatsby, check out my TikTok and Twitter at Holden Gatsby, and follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Holden Gatsby. Don't forget to subscribe to all of my channels. If you want more, you can watch my last video now, but if not, then thanks for sticking around. Bye.